Although our world today may seem stable and secure, it has experienced countless disasters throughout its 4.5 billion year history. Since the beginning of life, destructive events have shaped our planet and repeatedly threatened the existence of life on it. Some disasters nearly wiped out all life on Earth, while others led to developments that shaped human history and laid the foundation for modern civilizations. Let's take a look at the greatest disasters our planet has endured, reminding us once again how vulnerable we are in the face of nature's power. The Great Chinese Famine of 1876 to 1879. One of the greatest disasters in recorded history. One of the greatest droughts recorded in history occurred in China between 1876 and 1879, known as the Great Chinese Famine. At that time, China's population was around 108 million. However, this devastating drought caused agriculture in the Yellow River region to completely halt, and much of the population struggled with starvation. For nearly 2 years, no rain fell in the northern Yellow River region. As the river shrank, agricultural lands dried up, and the local people faced a desperate battle for survival. It is estimated that 14 million people died from starvation and disease during this period. Those who managed to migrate survived, while millions who couldn't leave the region fell into extreme emaciation, eventually succumbing to death. Starvation reached such horrific levels that some sources report cases of cannibalism, with children who died from disease or hunger being boiled and eaten. Such tragedies are etched in human history with shame and sorrow. 14,500 years ago, the collapse of Lake Agassiz and the massive water release into the Atlantic. Around 14,500 years ago, the world was slowly emerging from its last major ice age. As the giant ice sheets covering the northern hemisphere began to melt, a massive lake formed in what is now North America and Canada, known as Lake Agassiz. This lake was larger than the Black Sea, and its surface area was wider than even some of Europe's largest lakes. However, this massive body of water was held back by a natural dam made of ice. One day, this ice dam collapsed, and all the waters of the lake poured into the Atlantic Ocean with immense force. This catastrophe profoundly affected the planet's climate system. Ocean currents were disrupted, and temperatures in the northern hemisphere dropped dramatically. For approximately 1,200 years, the world entered a mini ice age. It is estimated that this event led to the extinction of 5 different animal species, including the woolly mammoth. Another interesting result of this event was the sudden rise in sea levels. This rise led to the formation of the modern-day Bosphorus and turned the Black Sea from an inland lake into a sea connected to the Mediterranean. Isn't it fascinating to think that the view from the Bosphorus today was shaped by the melting glaciers of ancient North America 6 million years ago? The drying of the Mediterranean. Around 6 million years ago, our planet had a very different geographical structure. The Strait of Gibraltar had closed due to tectonic movements, cutting off the Mediterranean from the ocean. The Mediterranean was a vast inland sea, and when the strait closed, the sea's waters began to evaporate rapidly. For thousands of years, this process continued, and the Mediterranean almost completely dried up, leaving behind a highly salty salt lake. The thickness of the salt layer in some areas reached up to 3 kilometers. However, this event also came to an end due to the Earth's movements. After an earthquake or tectonic activity, the Strait of Gibraltar terrapins, Strait of Gibraltar ran. A massive influx of water began to flow into the Mediterranean. This giant region, which had dried out over thousands of years, refilled in just 1.5 years. A continuous rise of such a large body of water, with sea levels increasing by up to 10 meters a day, was recorded as one of the greatest natural events in history. The Siberian Supervolcano, the largest extinction event on the planet. Another major disaster occurred around 250 million years ago in what is now the Siberian region. This event was one of the largest volcanic eruptions in history, known as the Siberian Supervolcano. The eruption triggered a wave of destruction that affected the entire planet. The gases and ash clouds released into the atmosphere made the air acidic and toxic. The oceans absorbed these gases, leading to the near extinction of marine life. This event initiated the largest extinction period the Earth had ever seen, the Permian extinction. About 95% of marine species and 75% of land species were affected by this disaster. It took millions of years for the world to recover from such a large-scale destruction, marking one of the most devastating disasters in the planet's history. The formation of the moon, the birth of the planet. However, perhaps the greatest disaster our planet experienced occurred around 4.5 billion years ago. Just as the Earth was beginning to solidify, a Mars-sized planetary body collided with our planet. This impact was so violent that both planets melted once again, and large fragments were broken off. These broken pieces eventually coalesced to form the moon, which we see in the sky today. It took millions of years for our planet to cool down and solidify again after this collision. An interesting detail about this event is that the Sumerians included this collision in their mythology thousands of years ago. According to Sumerian mythology, Our planet was formed when the planet Nibiru collided with Earth in ancient times, and life emerged after this event. This mythological story contains surprisingly detailed information that aligns with scientific facts. All these disasters show us once again how resilient and capable of renewal our planet is. No matter how large the disasters, nature eventually recovers and finds life again. But can the same be said for humanity? Perhaps our planet will continue to live for millions of years, but if we don't learn how to protect it, we might be the species that takes its place in history as the next to be wiped out by a major disaster.